I'm Letitia. 6 months have passed since that fateful Christmas, but the events of that day still feel as fresh as if they happened yesterday. My son, Lucas, took his first steps in our backyard just the other day. As I watched him wobble towards me with that adorable determination, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that led us here. It was a journey that started with a Christmas dinner that went horribly wrong and ended with a newfound understanding of love and family. My husband, Ethan, and I had driven all the way to my parents' house in Seattle for Christmas. Ethan had just returned from a long deployment, and I was looking forward to a peaceful holiday with my family. I had been telling myself for years that the kind of warm, loving family gatherings I remembered from my childhood still existed, and I wanted Lucas to experience that for the first time. But as soon as we walked through the door, I knew I had made a mistake. My brother, Jake, had turned the dining room into a makeshift studio. There were lights everywhere, cameras on tripods, and his phone propped up on a stand. He had that look in his eye, the one he gets when he's about to capture something he thinks will go viral. Lucas was already exhausted from the long drive, and as soon as dinner started, he began to get fussy. He rubbed his eyes, squirmed in his high chair, and let out those soft, warning cries that babies make when they're about to have a meltdown. I reached for him, but my mother, Helen, stopped me. "Let him be, Letitia. He'll settle down," she said. I tried to be patient, but as Lucas's cries grew louder, I couldn't stand it anymore. I reached for him again, but before I could pick him up, Jake grabbed a glass of water from the table and threw it in Lucas's face. He laughed as if he had just done something hilarious, and then he looked at me and said, "Relax, Letitia. It was just a little water." I was in shock. Everyone at the table froze, and for a moment there was complete silence. Then Ethan slowly stood up. He didn't raise his voice, but there was a calm determination in his eyes that I had never seen before. He walked over to Lucas, lifted him out of the high chair, and held him close to his chest. Lucas was sobbing, and his little body was shaking. I rushed to grab a napkin to dry his face, my hands trembling. Jake just stood there, still smiling, as if he couldn't understand why everyone was so upset. "It was just a joke," he said. "You're overreacting." My mother tried to smooth things over, saying that Jake had just been trying to lighten the mood. My father, Richard, stared down at his plate and mumbled that we shouldn't ruin Christmas over a silly prank. But Ethan wasn't having it. He looked at Jake and said, "You need to leave right now." Jake blinked, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You can't tell me what to do," he said. "This is my parents' house." Ethan didn't back down. "I'm not asking," he said. "If you don't leave, I'll make you." My sister, Lily, had gone pale. She kept looking back and forth between Jake and me, as if she was watching a train wreck in slow motion. Jake tried to laugh it off, saying that the stream was still running and that the audience would love this. But Ethan wasn't listening. He handed me the diaper bag and said, "Letitia, get Lucas's blanket. We're leaving." As we walked towards the door, Jake called after us. "You're ruining everything," he said. "You've always been so uptight, so sensitive." My mother pleaded with me not to make a scene, but something inside me snapped. I turned around and asked her, "How much smaller does this have to be before you'll care about what he did to my son?" She had no answer. Outside, the cold air hit my face like a slap. For the first time that night, I could breathe. Lucas had stopped crying, but he was still trembling. Ethan buckled him into the car seat and then got behind the wheel. We drove home in silence, the lights of Seattle passing by in a blur. As I watched the city lights fade away, I realized that I had spent my whole life making excuses for my family. I had always been the one to absorb their behavior, to laugh off their mistakes, to let things slide. But not anymore. 2 days after Christmas, I received a text from Lily. "Check Jake's page," it said. I opened his social media accounts and felt a wave of anger wash over me. He had posted a video of the incident, edited to make it look like a harmless prank. The caption read, Some people just can't take a joke. The comments were full of people defending him, saying that I was overreacting and that I was ruining the family fun. I showed the video to Ethan, and he said, "Save everything. We're going to need it." I spent the next few days gathering evidence, talking to relatives who had witnessed Jake's behavior over the years. I learned that he had a long history of using children as props for his videos, scaring them for laughs and then brushing it off as a joke. I decided to take action. I contacted an attorney, a woman named Sarah who specialized in family law and civil harassment cases. She listened to my story and said, "Truth is not defamation, and documented truth is even better." She helped me prepare a response to Jake's lawyer, who had sent me a letter threatening to sue me for defamation. We sent a formal reply stating that all of my statements were factual and supported by evidence. We also put Jake on notice that he had used family likenesses and events in his monetized content without our consent. If he continued to harass us, we were prepared to take him to court. The response from our family was mixed. Some relatives supported me, saying that they had always known Jake was a problem. Others accused me of tearing the family apart. But I didn't care. I knew that I was doing the right thing for Lucas. Over the next few weeks, the consequences of Jake's actions began to catch up with him. His sponsors started to pull out, and his follower count began to drop. He tried to blame me for his problems, but no one was buying it. His videos became less popular, and he was forced to change his content. 6 months later, things have changed. Jake's channel is a shadow of its former self. He still posts videos, but they're mostly travel vlogs and motivational speeches. My family has been forced to confront the truth about him, and while some are still in denial, others have started to see him for who he really is. My relationship with my sister, Lily, has improved. We've had some long, honest conversations, and I've learned that she had been feeling the same way as me for a long time. She just didn't have the courage to stand up to Jake. My parents are still struggling to come to terms with what happened. My mother has started seeing a counselor, and my father has become quieter. But I know that they love me and Lucas, and I'm hopeful that we can rebuild our relationship. As for me, I've learned a valuable lesson about love and family. Love is not about making excuses for harmful behavior. It's about protecting the people you care about, even if it means standing up to those you love. I will never let anyone hurt my son again, and I will always trust my instincts when it comes to his safety. Looking back on that Christmas, I realized that it was a turning point in my life. It was the moment when I finally stopped being the daughter who was expected to keep the peace at any cost. It was the moment when I became a mother who was willing to do whatever it takes to protect her child. And I wouldn't have it any other way.